happy summer. I hope you're all enjoying spending lots of time outside playing with your friends and family. And this is also the perfect time for you to enjoy our special omnibus edition of Journey with Story, where you can listen to all of this month's episodes in one place. Oh, mums and dads, don't forget you can download some free colouring sheets to accompany each episode if you go to www.journeywithstory.com and click on the Become a Patreon orange tab. It's up there at the top of each page. And also, if you scroll right down, it's right there at the bottom of every page too. Thanks to all of you, our loyal Patreon subscribers. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's take an omnibus journey with Story. Now let's take a journey with Scratch Tom. One night an old woman heard a scratch, scratch, scratch upon her door. When she opened it, there stood a scraggy, starved-looking cat with gleaming eyes as big as saucers. "Poor wee thing," said the old woman. "Come and sit by the fire." The cat crept in. "What's your name?" asked the old woman. "Scratch Tom," he replied. The only food the woman had in the house was one small oat cake, but she felt sorry for the hungry cat. She broke the oat cake into 3 bits and put them on the floor. Scratch Tom ate the first bit and he swelled. He ate the second bit and he swelled and swelled. He ate the third bit and he swelled and swelled and swelled until he was big as the old woman's table. "As you have shared all you have with me, I shall repay you," he said. "Climb up onto my back and good fortune will be yours." The old woman was afraid of tumbling off the cat's back, so she tied her apron around Scratch Tom's neck and then climbed on and gripped the apron strings tight. Away they went into the cold, dark night. Scratch Tom ran faster than the wind and didn't stop until they came to a huge wooden door set in the side of a hill. He knocked on the door.
"Who wishes to enter?"
cried a voice from the inside. "The Princess of the Land of Light and her servant, Scratch Tom," replied the cat.
"I won't open the door without the sign,"
said the voice. "Slip your hand under the door and I'll give you the sign," said Scratch Tom. A long, thin arm appeared under the door. At once the cat pounced on it.
"Let me go!"
cried the voice. "Not until you give me the key to the door," said Scratch Tom. A large key was pushed under the door, and the cat let go. "Quick, stand on my back and unlock the door," Scratch Tom told the old woman, "and keep the key." The old woman did as she was told, but the door wouldn't open. They both pushed, but still it wouldn't move. "Take 3 hairs from my tail and stroke the hinges," said Scratch Tom, and that did the trick. The door opened into a cave, and there stood an ugly giant with big flappy ears.
"Give back that key!"
bellowed the giant. "I can't reach up," said Scratch Tom. "You must bend down closer." When the giant bent down, the cat bit off his head. Then the old woman put the key in her pocket, held tight to the apron strings, and on they went into the dark cave. Scratch Tom ran faster than the wind. Then all of a sudden, he stopped. "Put your hand behind my left ear and scratch Tom," he told the old woman. She did as he asked, and a soft, silvery glow shone from his eyes, revealing a lofty cavern before them, studded with gemstones. A dozen giants with huge flappy ears were having a feast. They blinked in the light which hurt their eyes. In the midst of them sat their king wearing a crown of black feathers, and their queen wearing a golden crown with an enormous diamond as big as an egg.
"Who dares to enter my kingdom?"
cried the king. "This is the princess of the land of light," said Scratch Tom, "and I am her servant."
"How does she make light in my cave?"
asked the king. "That is her secret," replied Scratch Tom, and he whispered to the old woman to scratch under his chin. When she did so, a dazzling light shone from the cat's huge eyes, making the cavern as bright as day.
"Too bright!"
cried the king, covering his eyes with his flappy ears.
"Put out the light!"
All the giants groaned and did the same. Scratch Tom whispered to the old woman what to do next. She climbed down and stood before the king and queen. "I will only put out the light if you give me the queen's crown," she said.
"Never!"
cried the king. But the giants struck up such a howling and wailing that the queen told him to do it. So the king removed his wife's crown and handed it to the old woman, who wrapped it inside her shawl and climbed back on the cat. The old woman scratched the cat behind his left ear, and the light faded to a soft, silvery glow. Then she scratched him behind his right ear, and it was dark once more. "Hold tight!" cried the cat, and away he ran. When they reached the door in the side of the hill, the old woman took the key from her pocket and unlocked it, but she couldn't push the door shut behind them. "Take 3 hairs from my tail and stroke the hinges," said the cat. The old woman was in such a hurry that she pulled out a handful. When she stroked the hinges of the door, it slammed shut and trapped the cat's tail. Scratch Tom tugged his tail free. "No time to lock the door," he cried, and he sped away faster than the wind. The old woman held tight her apron strings and glanced back over her shoulder. Out of the door in the hill ran the giants, shouting angrily. They chased after Scratch Tom and the old woman with such huge strides that the fastest giant almost came close enough to grab the cat's tail. But just at that moment, the morning sun rose. The giants who lived in the hill couldn't bear sunlight. Wailing and howling, they covered their eyes with their flappy ears and stumbled back to their cave. Scratch Tom carried the old woman home. "Sell the golden crown and you shall never go hungry again," he told her. "Those giants have heaps of treasure and plenty to eat." "Oh, how can I thank you for your kindness?" asked the old woman. "Scratch Tom," said the cat. And so the old woman did just that. Now, let's take an encore journey with the White Crane. Long ago in Japan, there lived a poor fisherman and his wife.
Every day the fisherman rose before the first blush of dawn and went out onto the lake in his boat to fish. But each day he barely caught enough fish to feed him and his wife. One day, just as the fisherman was about to give up and return home, he spotted a beautiful white crane at the edge of the marsh, flapping its wings wildly. He paddled his boat over to the crane and saw that it was caught up in an old net some careless fisherman had left there. "You are so beautiful," whispered the fisherman as he tried to catch hold of the net. "Hold still, let me cut you free." The crane stood still and allowed the fisherman to cut the net away. When it broke free, it flapped its wings, circled the mist-covered lake, and flew right over the fisherman's head, as if to say, "Thank you for setting me free." Later that evening, the fisherman brought his day's catch of fish to his wife for her to cook for their evening meal. After they had eaten, they sat for a while by the fire chatting about this and that. They were content in every way but one. They had long wished for a son or a daughter to keep them company, but this wish had never been granted. Suddenly, a sharp knock on the door startled them. The fisherman opened the door, and there stood a beautiful girl with long black hair, dressed in a flowing white kimono. The couple invited her inside to warm herself by the fire. After they chatted for a while, the girl told them that she was an orphan with no home and no one to love or be loved by, and so at once they insisted she must spend the night with them. In the morning, the old couple awoke to find the girl had cooked breakfast, straightened all the mats in the house, and cleaned up all the pots and dishes in the sink. They were so delighted, they told her, "If we had a daughter, we would want her to be just like you." The girl smiled and told them, "Since I have no parents, I will be your daughter, and I will mind you as you grow old." For many weeks and many months, the old couple and the young girl lived in great peace and contentment. Every day the old man went off to fish for their supper in the lake. Every day the old woman went to work in the fields. And every day while they were both gone, the young girl went to the loom in the weaving room, and there she wove for hours on end. Sometimes when the couple came home, they found her still weaving away in the room, but she had warned them both that they must never, ever look in on her while she was weaving, for she wanted this to be a surprise for them. And the old couple did as she had asked, even though they could barely contain their curiosity. Now, when market day was almost upon them, the young girl brought out the beautiful bolt of cloth she had been weaving. She held it up to the light, and the silky fabric shimmered with tiny threads of silver, glistening like the mist on the lake at sunrise. Its beauty filled the room, and the couple were speechless with amazement. "Take this to the market and sell it so that you will have money for food during the long, harsh winter," the girl told them. So the old man set off for the village market carrying the beautiful bolt of cloth. Along the way, each neighbour who saw him asked about the cloth, admired it, and told him how much he should charge. One said, "Oh, you should charge 10 gold coins for a cloth as silky as this." Another said, "No, you must charge 50 gold coins for a cloth that has these lovely silver threads running through it." And yet another said, "No, no, poor fisherman, a cloth as beautiful as the mist on the lake is surely worth 100 gold coins, enough to last for many harsh winters." And so it happened that the fisherman sold the cloth for 100 gold coins. The old couple could not believe their good fortune. Now they had enough money for food for many, many winters, but most important of all, they were blessed with a beautiful daughter to keep them company in their old age. Time passed, and every day the young girl still went to work in the weaving room. And every day she reminded the old couple that on no account were they to peek inside while she was weaving. Curious as they were, the old couple agreed to do as she had asked. But one day, a meddlesome neighbour came to visit. She had seen the old couple's good fortune and was eager to know more about their beautiful young daughter. She plied them with one question after another about the girl, and so the old couple invited their neighbour to join them for dinner. As they ate, the couple shared all the blessings they had enjoyed since their beautiful young daughter had come to live with them. "How wonderful it will be now to have a daughter who will care for us in her old age," said the old woman. And the neighbour smiled and nodded in agreement. But then she asked if she could meet this beautiful daughter of theirs. "How I would love to see this beauty for myself," she said. "No, that is not possible," said the fisherman. "She is weaving now in her room, and no one is allowed to look in on her while she weaves." "Oh, surely I can take just a little peek," said the neighbour as she pushed past them and opened the door a crack. And there she saw a beautiful white crane plucking out white feathers and turning them into soft, silky white cloth, as delicate as mist on the lake. Then, in one instant, poof, the crane disappeared. A few moments later, the beautiful young girl came out of the room, holding a half-finished length of cloth whose strands were frayed and falling apart. Her eyes full of tears, the girl said, "I am sorry you did not remember the rule. Thank you for freeing me from the net. I wanted to stay with you as your daughter and comfort you in your old age, but alas, now the spell is broken. I must return to my home in the misty lake." And before their eyes, the beautiful young girl turned into a white crane, and with a flap of her wings off she flew. From that day, the old man and his wife managed to scrape by, living off the money the beautiful bolt of cloth had brought them. But every now and then the couple went out on the boat on the lake, and sometimes they would catch sight of the beautiful white crane as it circled the mist-covered lake, and sometimes it would flap its wings and fly right over their heads as if to say, "See, I am still here, watching over you. Do not be sad. I am still here."
Now let's take a journey with the Six Brothers. When the world began, Aranji, the Sky Father, fell in love with Papa, the Earth Mother, and together they had 6 sons. Aranji and Papa's love for each other was so strong that he constantly lay low over the earth to be close to her. But his presence prevented light from reaching the world and stopped their 6 sons from standing upright, so that they had to live crouched in darkness. One day Ranji raised his arm a little, letting a sliver of light shine through. "What's that?" asked the 6 brothers in wonder. "It's only light," replied Ranji, and he lowered his arm and the world grew dark once more. "How beautiful," said Tanya, the eldest brother. "Please let us see it again." But Ranji wouldn't move. The 6 brothers talked among themselves. "If Ranji let us have light, then we could see our earth garden," said Tanya. "And if he moved higher, we would have room to stand up," said his brother too. They pleaded with the Sky Father to raise himself a little, but Ranji stubbornly refused. "My place is close to the Earth Mother," he said. "You must be content with that." However, the 6 brothers could not be content once they'd seen the beautiful light, so they decided to try pushing Ranji up high. Orongo tried first, but although he pushed with all his strength, Ranji didn't move. Then Homia tried, then Tangoria and Tu, but none of them was strong enough to move the Sky Father. Next, it was Tanya's turn. He pushed against Ranji's mighty chest with both hands and raised him slightly from his resting place, allowing a ray of light to slip through. "Push harder," urged his brothers. Tanya used his feet to heave Ranji higher and higher, letting sunlight shine upon the world for the first time. Then there was room for Tanya to stand upright, and when he did, he became a giant and pushed Ranji higher still. At last, Tanya stopped to rest, but Ranji called out to him. "Help me," he cried. "You've left me on sharp mountain peaks, and they're piercing my sides." Tanya ran swiftly across the land and climbed the mountains. Gently, he bandaged the Sky Father's wounds and then lifted him so high that he could never blot out the light again. When Tanya returned to Papa, she was weeping with sorrow at being separated from her beloved Ranji. Tanya comforted her. "Now there is light. We shall make your earth garden beautiful with trees and flowers," he promised. All the brothers agreed to help except one, called Tahwiri, who refused to join in and went to live with Ranji in the sky. Then Tanya made trees and flowers, moths and butterflies, and singing birds for Papa. Rongo and Homia made food plants, and Tangoroa made fishes to fill her oceans, rivers, and lakes. The Earth Mother was grateful for her son's kindness and the beauty of everything they'd made, but still, she wept for Ranji. "How cold he must be so high in the sky," she sighed. "Don't worry, I shall give him a warm cloak to wear," said Tanya. He made a cloak of glowing red and also a dark cloak for nighttime set with bright stars. He carried them up the highest mountain, and when he reached its peak, Tanya stretched up and handed the cloaks to Ranji. Papa was pleased that Ranji would be warm, but still, she worried about him. "I'm afraid that he might fall from such a great height and be hurt." "Oh," she sighed. "Don't be afraid," said Tanya. "I'll make sure the Sky Father cannot fall." And he created soft, white clouds to float beneath him. Papa was pleased to see that Ranji was safe high in the sky, but nothing could truly heal the sorrow of their separation. Often at night Ranji's tears fell as dew upon Papa's garden, and she would send soft sighs of mist to remind him of her never-ending love. Meanwhile, the 5 brothers were happy in their earth garden full of light and life. But Tawhiri looked down on them jealously. He made 4 winds and set them in the sky, north, south, east, and west. When they were finished, Tawhiri called them together and stirred them up to make storms and hurricanes. Rain and hail fell from the sky and beat Tanya's beautiful trees to the ground. When Rongo and Homiya heard the storm coming, they turned themselves into roots and hid in the ground, where they have stayed ever since. Tangaroa changed into a fish and jumped into the sea, which became his home. But Tu climbed onto high ground where the rainwaters couldn't reach him. He waited until Tawhiri rode up on the dark clouds of the storm, and there he caught him. "Calm your hurricanes, brother," demanded Tu. "Stop the rain. You must return to the sky, Father, and leave our Earth Mother in peace." Tawhiri did not want to fight with his powerful brother Tu. So he calmed the storm and promised to live quietly in his sky home with Ranji. Then Tanya made new trees, which became mighty forests, and with his brother's help, the earth garden grew more beautiful than before. Tawhiri still manages to keep his promise most of the time. But now and then he sends the winds to tease his brothers and remind them he is near. And Papa and Ranji's love remains strong, for they are never completely separated, as their outstretched hands always touch each other on the low horizon. Let's take a journey with The Origin of Stories, a folktale from South Africa. A man and his wife lived in a happy household near the sea. On a still day, they could hear the roar of waves as they pounded onto the sandy beach. And on a wind-swept day, they could see streaks of white foam riding the Indian Ocean like men on horseback. In summer, the man, his wife, and children walked along the beach in the late afternoon. The mother and her children looked for shells and watched ghost crabs retreat into their holes, while the man loved to watch seabirds, the terns as they dived into the water to catch fish, the plovers as they strutted along the shore, and the migrant gulls as they scavenged for food. At home, the man would carve bird and animal forms out of wood that he found, and in his home were beautiful sculptures displayed for all to see. The family spent much time hunting, curing hides, tending the fields, and weaving baskets using the materials that grew along the coast. At night, after their daily tasks, they rested around a fire under the stars. As they watched the fire dance before them, the children begged their mother to tell them stories. "Tell us stories," the children nagged. "We want stories." But the woman had no stories to tell her children. She couldn't even think of one. Early the next morning, the woman visited her neighbours to try and find stories so that she would not disappoint her children. "We do not know any," they said, shaking their heads. Then the woman turned her ears to the wind as it rustled the leaves of the umdoni trees and sneaked around the yard hoping that it had stories to tell. But she heard nothing. Every evening the children begged for stories until, in desperation, the man of the house sent his wife away in search of tales, promising to take care of the children and the household while she was away. With the sound of the sea at her back, the woman followed the well-worn paths gouged out of the earth by people and cattle and went in search of stories. Soon she met a hare nibbling grass at the edge of a clump of bushes. She quickly addressed the little animal, known for his trickster ways, before he disappeared into the bush. "Do you have any stories for me, hare? My family are desperate for tales."
"Oh, I have plenty of tales, so many that I have lost count," he replied.
"Please recall some so that I can tell them to my children," the woman said excitedly. "They are nagging me for stories."
"Well, I'm very busy now, as you can see, and you know what happens to people who tell stories in the daytime."
Then the hare scuttled into the bushes, leaving a little trail of dust. The woman continued on her way, disappointed that the hare, who really had no stories to tell, had tricked her. As she walked along the hillside, she looked out for people and animals who could tell her tales. The summer heat was tiring, and the woman decided to rest for a while in the cool forest. Before she reached the shady trees, she met Baboon and her young near an outcrop of rocks. "I see you have children just like me," she said to the baboon. "My children have sent me in search of stories for them. Do you have any to tell me so that I can take them back to my family?"
"You want stories?" Baboon laughed. "Do you think I have time for stories? I spend all my time feeding my young and keeping them safe. Your request is rather strange."
So the woman quickly left the baboon and her family and entered the cool forest. As she looked up, she saw a wood owl perched on the branch of a gnarled tree. She immediately tried to capture his attention by looking up at him and saying, "Wood owl, do you have any stories for my children?"
"Who is this noisy creature who has disturbed my sleep?" he asked angrily. "Stories? Is that what you want? How ridiculous!"
He flitted off towards a tall tree nearby, calling, "Whoo! Whoo!" And the woman caught sight of his rust-red body feathers and his brown wings that were the colour of winter leaves. His soft cry seemed to echo his thoughts. "Who are you? Who are you?" The woman was disappointed by the owl's response, but she sat down in the forest to rest, and she fell asleep. She dreamed of finding stories for her children, and when she awoke, she walked towards a clearing where she saw an elephant breaking off the leafy branch of a tree with his agile trunk. "Elephant," she said, "do you have any stories for me?
My people at home are desperate for stories." The elephant looked kindly at the woman and said, "I don't know any stories, but you should speak to the fish eagle. He sees far and wide when he flies in the sky, and I'm sure he would know where to find stories." Knowing that the fish eagle is found near water, the woman retraced her footsteps back towards the sea, quickening her pace. For days she scanned the skies, looking for Encore, the fish eagle, and waited patiently to hear his distinctive cry. At last she saw the fish eagle circling high above the Tugela River. She ran towards him as he flew lower, and when he swooped down to catch a fish from the slow, flowing water, she shouted, "Fish eagle, Encore!" At the sound of the woman's excited cry, the fish eagle took fright and dropped the fish that he had tightly clenched in his talons. Plop! It sounded as it hit the brown water, which was the colour of the bulrushes that grow in the marshes near the river. "I have lost my fish because of you," said the fish eagle. "What do you want?" "I have heard that you are the great bird of the sky and that you are wise," said the woman. "My family need me to tell stories to them, and I do not know any. Do you know where I could find some tales?" Fish eagle liked being referred to as wise, so he forgot about fishing and gave the woman his attention. "I am knowledgeable about some things on earth, but not others," he said. "But wait, I know of someone who knows the secrets of the ocean. Wait here while I try to find him." Sitting on the sand at the river mouth, watching the incoming tide creep closer towards her, the woman waited for the fish eagle's return. She moved back when the high tide swept up the beach and then receded, exposing the rocks and the ghost crabs that scuttled towards the waves or disappeared down their holes. At last the fish eagle returned with news. "There is a large sea turtle who has offered to take you to a place where you will be able to find stories," said the fish eagle. "Look, he is coming out of the water." When the woman had explained what she wanted, the sea turtle said, "Woman, climb on my back and hold my shell firmly." The woman was a little afraid, but she obeyed the turtle. They travelled the waves with difficulty, and together they journeyed into the depths of the sea. The woman had never seen such beauty before. On and on they travelled towards the bottom of the sea, where they met the king and queen of the seas. "Woman from the dry earth, what do you want from us?" they asked. "I am looking for stories to take to my children. They are desperate for tales." "We have many tales, young woman, but what will you give us in return?" "What do you desire?" the woman asked. "We can never go to the dry earth, so we would like a picture of your family, your house and your village," said the Sea King. "All right," said the woman excitedly. Then she climbed on the turtle's back, and they journeyed back through the depths of the ocean towards the land. As she climbed off his back at the edge of the water, the woman said, "Please come back at full moon. I will have the Sea King's gift ready by then." Then the young woman ran up the hill towards her home and shared her experiences with her family, telling her husband about the picture. "I can carve a picture in exchange for stories," he said, going out to select suitable wood for his sculpture from tree stumps and old branches that were stored nearby. The woman was so excited that she spent many hours watching her husband sculpt, chipping away unwanted pieces until gradually the picture emerged. It was beautiful. When her neighbours heard about the sculpture, they all came to see the man carving, and they were very excited that their village was included as well. By the time the full moon rose in an autumn sky, the picture was complete. The man tied the picture to his wife's back as she climbed onto the back of the sea turtle. Down, down they travelled, past seaweed and shoals of fish, until they reached the king and queen. When the young woman presented the picture to them, they were overjoyed and complimented the woman on her husband's talents. As a token of thanks, they gave the woman a shell necklace to take to her husband. They said to her, "The gift of stories is given to you from us. It is for you and your people." Then they handed her a large shell, the most beautiful shell she had ever seen. "When you need a story, hold this shell against your ear and you will hear a story," they explained. Guarding the shell protectively, the woman climbed on the turtle's back and returned to the land. Her family and people from the village lit a fire on the beach to welcome her home. The young woman had hardly put her foot on the sand when the children shouted, "We want a story! Please tell us a tale!" So the woman lifted the shell to her ear, holding it with both hands. She listened as the sea surged behind her. Then she began her story. Once upon a time,
I hope you enjoyed this special playlist. Be sure to send us your drawings at www.journeywithstory.com. Click on the contact and fill in the form there and attach your drawing. Cheerio then. Join me next time for Journey with Story. Music and post-production was by Colette Jonas.